Matthew 11. And it came to pass, when Jesus had made an end of commanding his 12 disciples, he departed thence to teach and to preach in their cities. Now when John had heard in the prison the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples, and said unto him, Art thou he that should come, or do we look for another?
Hello again, everyone. Today, I'm simply going to be reading from Daniel Speck's book entitled Arcturus, Star of the Second Coming. 95% of this book I do not agree with. However, he did identify Arcturus as the Star of the Second Coming back before this book was published in 2004. The reason I am about to share an excerpt from it is because I believe he has made some amazing observations within it. But first, I want to show you this comparison of 3 different representations of Boötes. Moving from left to right, the first image is the one I find in both Seiss and Bullinger's books, and has presumably been brought forward from their first editions of the 19th century. The second image, bottom centre, is a more simplistic representation of Boötes, Corona Borealis and Serpens, taken from Daniel Speck's book of 2004. Focusing on the right-hand side of this image, we see Boötes as 8 stars, and this is very important, because when we look at the final image on the right-hand side, stellariums, we can see the basic pattern of Boötes now has 9 stars. We shall see why this matters shortly. Suffice to say, however, stellarium erred in adding a 9th star. Please also note the relative position of Virgo to Boötes. It was this relationship that helped me realize the Ash video, Shining Light, was representative of both, Boötes on the vertical axis and Virgo on the horizontal. Removing some of the noise from this picture, we can still see clearly the White Horse Rider with bow and crown, even in stellarium. So enough from me, let's see what Daniel Speck wrote in 2004. Reading from page 3 onwards. Revelation in the Stars. Christ walks among the 7 golden lampstands and holds the 7 stars in his right hand. 7 stars is of course a constellation. The 7 golden lampstands may be a constellation as well. If we look at a map of the Greek cities of the 7 churches, the pattern they trace has a close resemblance to a particular constellation of familiar stars. We can compare them to the night sky to see where this might be. Corona Borealis, Boötes, and Arcturus. The constellation of Boötes is very similar. Constellations, being symbolic, need only a vague resemblance to a figure or icon to represent it. In addition to representing the 7 churches, Boötes traces the form of a 1st century oil lamp stand. The 8 stars of Boötes also look like a fish, the symbol the early church used for Christianity, as we still do today. Traditional astronomy sees Boötes as a herdsman and harvester. A closer look at Boötes reveals some fascinating similarities to Revelation chapter 2 verse 1, he who walks among the 7 lampstands. Arcturus is the bright alpha star of this constellation. It is also the brightest star in the northern hemisphere, and the 4th brightest overall in the heavens, but more importantly, it has an unusually fast proper motion. Proper motion is the term astronomers use to describe how some stars have moved over the centuries. Edmund Halley 1718 was the first astronomer to discover that stars move when he compared Arcturus' position with more ancient star charts. Since the 1st century AD, Arcturus has moved 2 degrees in the sky towards the constellation Virgo, the width of 2 full moons. Only one other star, our closest neighbour, Alpha Centauri, has an apparent faster motion. You could say that Arcturus walks among the other stars of Boötes. Boötes is often shown as a constellation of 8 stars. Arcturus, the 8th, has been walking among the other 7 throughout history. The proper motion of Arcturus might even be seen as the hand of a clock, as it sweeps by the 7 churches from Ephesus to Laodicea, marking their time off as the centuries pass by. The other half of Revelation chapter 2 verse 1, and holds the 7 stars in his right hand, can be visualized when Boötes and Arcturus rise above the eastern horizon before sunrise in the fall. Another constellation, Corona Borealis, is at Arcturus' right hand as it faces us. Corona Borealis is a strikingly beautiful constellation made up of 7 bright stars, usually described as a crown. They could also be seen as a cup or even a scythe. The head of Satan. So now we have a picture of Arcturus as it rises in the east. It walks among the 7 stars of Boötes and has the 7 stars of Corona Borealis at its right hand. As we watch it ascend, we notice another constellation just below it. This group of stars is called Serpens Caput, the serpent's head. Most civilizations have imagined this as a snake, with its long undulating line of stars and a triangular head. Serpens has also been called the head of Satan. It is a perfect fit as it wriggles at the feet of Arcturus. Genesis chapter 3 verse 15 to the serpent, "He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." The return of Christ will mean the fulfillment of this most ancient of all prophecies. Star names. Even without the connection with Revelation chapter 2 verse 1, Arcturus might qualify as a harbinger of the second coming solely on its distinctive history. It has one of the oldest continuously used names for any star. It appears in the writing of Homer, Hippocrates, and Ptolemy. It is called Job's star because it is mentioned in the book of Job, the only star mentioned in the King James Bible by name. The name Arcturus comes from the Greek word Arctos, which means bear. We get the word Arctic from it. It is translated as bear guard, which is descriptive of its proximity to Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the Big and Little Bears, or as they are commonly known, the Big and Little Dippers. The Hittites called it Arcturus al-Shama, Arabic for the keeper of heaven. The Chaldeans called it the shepherd of the heavenly flock. It is invariably associated with some shepherding role in many ancient astronomy beliefs because it shepherds or guards the other stars around the North Pole. This is descriptive of Christ as the good shepherd of his sheep, the church. The Egyptians called it Bo, which means the coming one. This is related to the Hebrew word bo, to come, from which Boötes gets its name. Thus Boötes also means the coming one. The name Boötes could have originally referred just to the star Arcturus, then eventually identifying the entire constellation. In Greek astrology, the constellation Boötes is portrayed as a herdsman with a staff in one hand and scythe in the other, the shepherd who comes to gather his sheep as well as reap the harvest. Greek astrology, from which present-day astronomy and astrology derives, is based on Babylonian astrology, which comes from earlier Mesopotamian astrology, from which Israel and the Hebrew language arose. The Greeks changed the names of many of the stars and constellations to reflect their own cultural and religious traditions, while keeping the original system largely intact. Ancient peoples did not usually distinguish between astrology and astronomy. The study of the night sky was primarily used in an attempt to foretell the future. Many of the same names and characters we use today for the constellations and individual stars go back to the beginning of recorded history and actually share Hebrew roots. Thus Bo, Hebrew for to come, may have been the original name for the star Arcturus.